All right, well, welcome to ForwardWarrior 2020. Why don't you tell me your name and a little bit about yourself?
My name is Ting, and I am an artist and organizer in Atlanta.
Right on. Do you want to tell me a little bit about what you're working on?
Yeah, so I'm working on a mural which is about, like, in response to all of the recent protests and things like that. I think people are starting to recognize that there is a serious fundamental issue with the police, ICE, and all of these like institutions that we've had around for ICE hasn't been around for that long, but the police, for example, have been around since slavery was abolished and used to catch slaves that have run away. And so this mural is kind of just against all of those things. Yeah.
Cool. So I know that the piece went through a little bit of redrafting.
Yes.
And maybe this time focus a little bit more on symbolism.
Yeah, so originally it was like I wanted to be super clear and explicit with the messaging of the piece, because I just feel like it's a topic that's very complicated and needs to be explicitly stated, otherwise it can appear to be something else, so I'm clearly stating in my mural, originally it said abolish police, ICE, and prisons, but somebody had said that wasn't okay, or it would cause issues moving forward with getting funding and things for this event. And so I compromised the design, a little bit, just redesigned it to be less explicitly saying that, but we still have, the symbolism in the tattoos. So obviously if you know what ACAB means, I'm not going to tell you what it means. If you know what it means, you do. And then over on the tattoos on each side, it's no justice, no peace. And then we have there's going to be an abolish ICE tattoo here, and then there's going to be a tattoo with a pig wearing a blue uniform. That could mean whatever you want it to mean over on that side. And then there's a bunch of flames. And then the last step that I'm really excited for this mural is the blood splatter.
I can't wait.
Yeah.
So when you talk about being explicit versus symbolism, I think it's important for people to understand, because when a lot of conversations about abolish the police, people are like, yeah, but not abolish, right?
Yeah. So that's why I wanted to be explicit in what I meant, because having been organizing not even that long in Atlanta for the last year or so, with just a bunch of abolitionist organizers, especially people who have been impacted by the system that is policing, prisons, and all of that. Abolition is the only way to truly get justice for a system that killed Breonna Taylor, killed Rayshard Brooks, killed George Floyd, and there's no way to reform that. And that's why I tried to do abolish the police. And now with symbolism, you'll just get in less trouble about it, I guess. But I like the symbolism. It definitely aesthetically looks super nice. But yeah, I'm gonna put a QR code on this corner of the mural with stencil a QR code on the corner that will link to a bunch of abolitionist resources that have FAQs and stuff like that. I've been working on that for the past few days with some other people as well.
Yeah, so I'm familiar with your Instagram page and the style that you use on there, and so it's kind of coincidental to me that you're working on the Hello Kitty right now. I think there's a little bit of cuteness that draws people in, and then your message is beneath that. So I think maybe this introduction to these ideas and then learn more might be something that works well for us.
I also don't want to turn people off of the idea, because it is something that I even had to really read up on before I was thinking that was the best solution, because you could do all these reforms and stuff. I mean, Biden said to shoot him in the knee instead of the head or whatever, so that, you know, that's a reform, but that's terrible. So we need to abolish, and then part of abolition is, you know, getting rid of the systems that cause harm to, like, disproportionately to, like, Black communities, poor communities, LGBTQ communities. And part of abolition is, like, looking at the current systems in place and deciding, like, or recognizing that you can't reform something that was created to work as intended. Because, like, these systems are really to maintain the status quo, like protect billionaires, you know, a lot of billionaires and rich people, politicians never ever get held accountable for anything they do. And then you have people who are, like, on the streets, who just don't have housing, get arrested for things like loitering or something like that, and that is saying, like, poverty is a crime, and I do not think that makes any freaking sense. And so, like, part of abolition is getting rid of all those things and then building new things that actually, like, solve the fundamental issues that create things like, you know, crime, quote unquote. So, like, people, you know, robbery, whatever, like, if people had housing, healthcare, food, stability in their lives, and, like, access to mental health resources and all that, like, I feel like that would, you know, solve a lot of the fundamental issues. But to me, cages, shooting people, beating people up, whatever, that is not going to solve any of the fundamental issues of society.
Agreed. Tell me about the rest of your body of work. Is there a lot of focus on social justice issues?
Yeah, definitely. It's like really hard for me to make things that aren't focused on that, just because that's where my brain is, like, 99% of the time, and I feel like it's just, like, the way I feel like I am contributing to the movement, whatever movement that is.
It's definitely important to keep up the momentum too. I think people now feel, you know, that these times more than ever, if you're not outraged, you're part of the problem. But
definitely,
supposing the more moderate voices prevail in a couple weeks, how is it? What's the strategy to keep people engaged with?
Yeah, and so I think, like, you know, if whatever that guy fucking wins again.
No, I mean, if Biden wins, let's say it gets less crazy, but we still need to focus on important issues.
Okay, yeah. So I do see, like, if Biden wins, a lot of these people who have been promoting to vote and things like that, reformist policies and stuff like that, are gonna probably become complacent and not necessarily, you know, do any sort of organizing or community outreach or whatever, and just, like, think, all right, victory, Trump is gone. But we're gonna still see, I'm assuming, I can almost guarantee we will see still, like, disproportionate rates of police brutality, arrest, and mass incarceration, things like that. I think Biden even said he wanted to fund the police, like, $300 million. And that's just, like, not what these protests and all of this, you know, all we went through the last few months, that's not what we wanted. And hopefully people get mad about it. And art is a way to keep people engaged with that. Yeah, art, I feel like it's, like, one of the best ways to just, like, keep people interested and engaged and, like, introduced to new ideas and topics.
So I think a lot of the history of ForwardWarrior in the past has been aimed at sort of some of these positive messaging and voices of solidarity. How does it feel to be kind of out here on your own doing this, as opposed to years past where there's, like, a whole group of painters?
Yeah. So I never actually been to the ForwardWarrior where there was, like, the outdoor, like, everyone here, and I'm assuming it was super fun. Like, I think it was in the summer, right? Oh yeah, very hot as well. It's been really chill, to be honest, just to be out here alone and listen to music and paint. I kind of like it.
Cool. How do people find out more about your art and you and your messaging?
So basically, I just overshare my whole life on Instagram. It's Art of Ting, and then I have like my website, it's artofting.com.
Great. Do you have any messages for artists just getting started in their mural career?
Definitely use like the Home Depot house paint. Like, don't even use the acrylics that you've been using for your paintings. Literally, like, I've only done 4 murals in my life, and every time it gets easier, even though it's hard. Like, it's technically bigger or more complicated, but yeah, just try to practice because it'll get easier over time.
Cool. Anything we missed? Anything else you want to talk about?
No. I feel like I said what I wanted to say.
Good. All right. Thank you so much.